One. All righty. Good morning, everybody. Hope everyone's having a wonderful Friday morning into the week. Weekend couldn't get here fast enough. And if you're happen to watching this a little later on, considering we've had a lot of guests this week, I hope you're having a good weekend or whatever day you're watching this. We're joined, thankfully, again today. We've really hit just a wonderful, wonderful slew of guests here with the LRRP Rangers. And not only are we going to be covering some LRRP Ranger history, missions, and such today, but we're also going to get into something I don't think we've ever spoken about on this podcast before, dealing with the Navy and Mr. Larry's second career in the military, which I think is going to be just as important to hear about and interesting as his time on the ground with the Army. So without further ado, Mr. Larry's our guest. I'm going to let him tell us his resume as we go because I will butcher it. But Mr. Larry, hope you're doing well this morning.
Yes, I'm doing fine.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, we are going to get kicked off here, get started. And we usually kind of like to ask the guest, the basic first question is, when and where were you born?
I was born in Saltillo, Tennessee in 1949.
Wow. Okay. You're younger than my father and you're a Southern boy. Very nice. Well, you being that leads into the next two questions. You being a Southern boy, I can only imagine growing up, you're playing a lot of sports. I know we started off, 9 and 10 playing football, baseball, and all of that. I imagine you probably were playing sports as a kid.
Yeah. My parents moved around a lot. Even though I was born in Tennessee, they moved all over Tennessee and then moved to California in 1961. And in high school, I did play football, but that was the only school sport I ever got into.
Wow. Okay. Well, football, I'm sure back in those days, as rough and as real as it was back then, was going to come in handy later on down the line for you in the Army. Did you happen to have any familiar family history of military service? Any aunts, uncles, grandpas, or anything? Father?
Well, my dad, actually, he was my stepdad, but he'll always be my dad. Mm-hmm. He was in the Army in World War II. He served in Europe. He was a cook.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. And, people will say, we get it when we talk to supply guys, and the guys are always somewhat embarrassed to talk when we have guys like you on. And it's like, y'all don't understand. And I try and put it nicely to them. It's like, we want to hear about everything about the war and how it ran. And without you guys getting food to guys, they wouldn't eat and wouldn't be mission ready to get out in the field. So, I mean, every aspect of the military like that is of vital importance.
Yeah.
And I hate seeing when veterans just say, oh, I was only a cook, or I was only in the supply shed, or, I really hate hearing that from guys, because without them, y'all couldn't have done what y'all did.
Yeah. Well, even in World War II, there was something, if in the area of around 20% of the servicemen were actual combat troops. The 80% were support, supply, and everything else, because without them, you don't do anything. And, supply, medical, clerical, food, everything.
I really can't. The logistics, I'm always amazed at that, and we'll get into your history, but I'm always amazed at WW2 logistics and how they were able to keep up with the guys in Europe. Pacific, whole different situation, but especially in Europe and keeping up with the tanks. I mean, you've got to have tank fuel, you've got to have everything. It's the supply guys really made it possible. So that's very interesting. Much to do for your father for his service. We're always interested in family history here. So did with your dad being in the military, did he kind of talk to you about it? Where did the military come up on your radar?
Well, I graduated from high school in 1967. And at that time, the draft was going strong. I knew I was going to get drafted, and I didn't want to go infantry. And at that time, the Army had what's called Warrant Officer Flight Program, where they were taking high school kids and training them to become helicopter pilots.
Okay.
So I enlisted in the Army to become a helicopter pilot.
Wow.
And I did my basic at Fort Polk, Louisiana. And then from there, I went to Fort Walters, Texas for the Warrant Officer Flight Training. And the first 6 weeks at Fort Walters, it was a weeding out process. It was the best way I can describe it is it's like basic camp on steroids. They introduced themselves as tactical officer, TAC officers, and they were like the drill sergeants we had in basic training. And he introduced himself and he says, "I've got one job and one job only, and that's to get you to quit."
Oh.
And it was constant 24-hour-a-day harassment. And we lost half of our class in the first week. And when we completed that, all the harassment and BS stopped. And then we went what they call up on the hill, where you start the actual flight training. And when the flight training starts, you move into much better barracks. There's no harassment. And now they're concentrating on making you a helicopter pilot. And I made it there. Usually, if you make it up on the hill, that's everything else is a piece of cake from that point on. I was doing well, except for one thing. I had problems doing auto rotations. That's powerless landings.
Mm.
And they couldn't figure out why, because everything else I did fine. Takeoff, landing, hover, navigation, all that, I did fine. But they sent me in for a real Class 1 flight physical where they did a check on my eyes and found out my depth perception is way off.
Oh.
Yeah. So that they should have caught that at the beginning. But when I went in, like I said, at 67, Vietnam was hot and heavy. We practiced herd medicine at its best. They put us in a group of 50 of us, and everybody see that wall? What wall? Okay, you pass. Next group. But once they found out my depth perception was way off, they kicked me out of the flight program. They held me over for 3 months, where they made me a pallbearer for military funerals. I was on the honor guard detail. And then after that, I got my orders for advanced infantry training at Fort Polk, Louisiana. I'm sorry, at Fort Lewis, Washington. So I did my AIT there. And then from there, I went to Vietnam. And when I got to Vietnam, I went over there as just straight infantry. And I was assigned to the 1st Air Cav Division. And I'm in the body pool every day that would come out. And they go like, okay, from this guy to this guy, go get on that truck. And this guy to that, go get on that helo. And I'm waiting to be assigned to, whatever unit. And then they had a couple of guys show up and they're wearing, camouflage fatigues, looking badass. And they go, "We're LRRPs and we're looking for volunteers." And it's like, "Well, what do you LRRPs do?" And they go, "Oh, we go out in the jungle in 5- and 6-man teams and we mess with Charlie." And I go, "Oh, hell no." And then the guy, he hit the magic phrase. He goes, "However, we have the lowest casualty rate of any combat unit in NAM." And that got my attention. I said, "Sure, I'll go." But one thing they told us is that if you were going through stateside training, we would take 6 months to get you in shape. We don't have 6 months. There's a war on. So if you're not in top physical condition right now, today, don't bother. Don't waste our time. Don't waste your time. Now, at that time, I was barely 18. I didn't drink. I didn't smoke. I played football in high school. I boxed my first year in the Army. So I thought I was, pretty studly at the time. And their policy was simple. If they told you to do, 10 pull-ups and you did 9, you got transferred. If you fell out of a run, you got transferred. It was very unforgiving. And once you completed that portion, then you went into the actual training of team tactics and, working with others, that sort of thing.
Like in-country ranger train, or are you LRRP training, I should say, by this time?
Yeah, this was LRRP training. This was in Phuoc Vinh, Vietnam. And that's where our headquarters were. And that was the first cav had just moved from An Khê down to Phuoc Vinh. And that's where our company was located. And so then we did the, training with the team. And I was the junior man on Team 3-3. The team leader was Sergeant Dwight Durham. We called him Bull. Great guy. And it was an honor to be on his team, and he took me under his wing, and he was, my mentor and, my best friend, and then later on one of our missions, I got wounded, took shrapnel from a grenade, and that's Bull. But when I took shrapnel from a grenade, I didn't realize that at the time. It was probably the luckiest thing that ever happened to me. It wasn't bad enough for me to get sent home, but it was bad enough to get me out of the jungle. And instead of sitting on my butt back at the base camp, which I was hoping to do, they put me out on a relay station where I was comm relay for our teams that were out in the bush. And I saw that as a golden opportunity. So I went and learned everything I could about the radios, the comm procedures, everything I could. So by the time I was physically able to go back in the jungle, they said, "Man, you're a damn good RTO. We're going to keep you as a relay operator." So then they moved me up to Nui Ba Din, and you're showing pictures of that now.
That's a crazy sight. Look at all those radars and sensors and
that was there were two of us from the LRRP Rangers that were there, and everyone else was from different units that were in the surrounding area. Nui Ba Din, or Black Virgin Mountain, was this huge mountain outside of Tay Ninh. It was flatlands for hundreds of miles in every direction, and then you had this gigantic mountain. And when I first went up there, the U.S. held the top of the mountain as the communications relay station, and the NVA held the side of the mountain as the regimental base camp.
Oh.
But at that time, it was a sacred mountain. It was a no-fire zone. And I was up there a couple of months, and then one night they just decided to overrun us.
Oh.
And, we came under heavy attack. It was scary, but we prevailed. And the next day they sent helos up with regular first cav infantry, and the mountain was secure. But after that, it became a free fire zone. So at any given time, we were able to lob grenades or whatever down the side of the mountain, which we enjoyed.
I can imagine after that skirmish of them coming up the hill. Wow.
Yeah.
Did what you had mentioned getting up there on did you say Nui Ba Din was?
Yes.
Nui Ba Din.
Yes.
And was it were there any like ASA guys, or was it strictly Rangers and Cav guys manning all of the radar the communication systems?
There were people up there from every division that was in that area. One of my friends that I met up there, he was with the 25th Infantry, and it was a communications for every unit that was in that region.
Wow!
So there were only two of us up there from the LRRPs.
Wow, I can imagine that place stayed quite busy, and clearly, if the NVA wanted to get up there so bad, y'all are of vital importance. That's heavy duty. What occurs after the attack and y'all kind of get everything together? Are you up there for quite a while longer? Or are you going back to Phuoc Vinh, or?
No, I was up there for almost 6 months. I spent better than half my tour I knew by then. And I've been on other relay stations. One was Nui Ba Ra, which I believe that was outside of Song Bay. There was one place, I don't know the name of it, but it was a little hill outside of a Vietnamese village. And me and my partner, we were the only Americans in that area. Our security was provided by 30 South Vietnamese militia. Yeah.
Wow. I bet that was hairy.
Yeah, especially since only one of them spoke English.
Oh,
that was their lieutenant. But thankfully, that was quiet. Nothing happened there. And then one time they sent me out. It was with one of the First Air Cav units. There were two of us, and we were there on a forward fire base. And we were there for a couple of weeks. But it was interesting.
I can imagine that. I'm sure you heard a lot of stuff, and then with them wanting to get up there, I'm sure you stayed quite busy up there. That wow. Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh. Well, there were two of us at any given time, and we had to monitor our radios 24 hours a day. And we had a lot of times our teams out in the bush would be in a situation where there was enemy nearby and they couldn't talk. So they would contact using squelch breaks. We always left the squelch on our radios. And when you key the mic, it silences the squelch while you got the mic keyed. So I'd be, at the station and hearing the squelch, and then I would hear breaks. And by counting the breaks, I'd go, okay, 3 long, 3 short. Team 3-3, are you trying to contact me? 1 for yes, 2 for no. Yes. Do you have enemy in the area? Yes. Using the clock method, are they at 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock? Then you get the direction. Click once for every 10 meters. How far out? Do you request artillery? One for, and we can call in fire missions, airstrikes, even a QRF using nothing but squelch breaks.
Holy cow!
Yeah.
I can't imagine how intense that must be, knowing that it's come down to the team leader using squelch to be doing this. Yeah,
and but it's something we're trained for that. And when our teams were in the bush, we always they checked in with a sit rep situation report every 30 minutes, and we would track them on the map, so we knew where every team was within 30 minutes of their previous location.
Wow.
And when a team settled down for the evening, they would send in their location, and we'd plot it on the map. And that way, if they needed support, we knew where to send it. And also, if they called in a fire mission, we knew where to put it. Also, before every mission, we used what they call Delta Tangos. These are predetermined fire missions. There's one at the center of every grid on the map in that area. So if you needed a fire mission quick, just give me a marking round on Delta Tango Alpha, and you'd call it into artillery, and they would send the round, and then the team leader could adjust it from there.
That's ingenious. I saw a veteran from A109 who had a big pin board of all previous, and they were able to just work over the NVA when they were trying to overrun Thung Duck A109, and that's just ingenious on y'all's part. Wonderful. Wow.
Yeah, it worked. One of the things that I really liked, and one of the reasons I volunteered for the LRRPs to begin with, I figured if I'm going to put my butt on the line, I want to do it with professionals. And our CEO at that time, Captain George Passarelli, loved the man. Any man in that company would have gone to hell and back for him.
SF qualified, wasn't he?
Pardon me?
Wasn't he SF qualified?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he's also in the Ranger Hall of Fame.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But his policy was very simple. No team goes out in the bush without every fire clearance from a B-52 strike on down pre-approved. So when we needed artillery air, we got it immediately. We didn't have to go through any of the approval BS. When our teams went in the bush, anybody out there that wasn't our team was enemy.
Man, oh man.
So if they wanted artillery air, they got it immediately. And that was one of the reasons why our casualty rate was as low as it was, because besides the guys being professional, being quiet, being well-trained, we also had priority on support, which was very important.
Reading Mr. Craig's book, is it MIA Rescue, I believe, in Cambodia. The captain is mentioned, and it's just amazing what all he would do when the boys got in trouble to get all available assets, man or machine, to get them out.
He would Captain Passarelli would personally lead QRF to rescue teams in the bush.
What a leader! Wow.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jeez Louise. I've been so oriented on SOG, and it's been such a great blessing to get with Mr. Craig and Gary Linder, and them able to connect me with you guys and get me books that are lay out such amazing history and missions. And it's absolutely amazing, the men that fill the ranks among the LRRP/Ranger detachments in Vietnam. I mean, just utter warriors. So are you were there from when the transfer of the LRRP company into H Company Rangers took place? Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah.
Could you tell us a little bit about how that and what that meant essentially?
Well, when I went in, it was Echo Company 52nd LRRP, and that was in December of '68. And once I became qualified as a LRRP, and okay, cool, I'm a LRRP. Then we got a message that they're recommissioning all of the LRRP companies as Rangers. So I think it was February 1st, if I'm not mistaken, we were recommissioned as Hotel Company 75th Rangers. The mission was primarily the same. We still operated in small teams. We were still the eyes and ears of the 1st Cav Division. Every division in Vietnam had one LRRP Ranger company attached to it that did all the sneaky Pete work, which I got a lot of satisfaction out of it, because we were able to beat the enemy at their own game. We were able to go into their areas and mess with them.
I like it how it's put in the books, and literally is, y'all are the eyes and the ears of the division. That's the most perfect description of y'all's mission. Absolutely. What was it like for you on your first or one of the first mission you can remember going on as a LRRP Ranger? What was that like to finally do that?
Well, I was the 6th man on the team, and Bull called me the ELB, extra load bearer. So I was the team pack horse, and I got to carry extra ammo and things like that. But it was like, be quiet, don't say anything, and keep eyes and ears open, pay attention. You depend on your senses to stay alive, and the whole thing. It was such an experience for me, because here I was, this barely 19-year-old kid out serving with turned out to be one of the most elite units of the Vietnam War. And my main concern at the time was don't screw up. I was more afraid of screwing up than I was of dying.
Wow.
It's just no matter what, don't let the team down.
Letting the guys down.
Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing how the bonds built and then I know the grunts have it as well and all of that, but it seems like every time I talk to either one of you guys, a LRRP Ranger, Special Forces, the Force Recon gentleman, it seems more so the biggest fear was, like you said, not dying, but letting the guys down in the moment. Yeah. Wow. Just a testament to you guys and 18, 19-year-old kid too. I mean, that's still, when I talk to you guys, realizing y'all are actual kids out here doing these missions.
Yeah. I got out of Vietnam and out of the Army 4 months after I turned 20.
Still not old enough to drink a beer.
Yeah. And when I got back to the States, it was a major culture shock. When I was in Vietnam, I was a sergeant when I got out. And here I was, a 19-year-old kid, but I'm a sergeant with, the LRRP Rangers. And when I got, back to the States, I was too young to buy a beer, too young to vote. I moved, I spent some time in Tennessee. I had to get my mother to sign for me to get a driver's license. It was ridiculous.
I literally, it's amazing because you hear the Vietnam guys, the WW2 and Korea guys, and how they were on the ship or what have you, coming back and having that time to decompress with the guys, and y'all would literally go from being in the jungle to back home in 48 hours, fit in and get used to it.
Well, one of the things that struck me when I got back, like you say, we went back on a jet, and we went through the outprocessing. I went through it at Oakland Army Base, and by regulation, we had to be in uniform when we checked out. And they told us, hey, you have to be in uniform, but we highly recommend you get out of your uniform as soon as you can. Otherwise, you're going to be a target. And, my attitude sounded like, hell no, I'm proud of what I did. And my first encounter with civilians, I was outside Oakland Army Base. I'm in uniform. I'm waiting for a friend of mine from San Jose to come pick me up. And I'm thinking, wow, I made it. I just can't believe I finally made it home. And this little Volkswagen drove by, Volkswagen Bug. And it had peace symbols and flowers painted on it. And, I think 4 or 5 people inside. And as they drove by, they started yelling at me, murderer, butcher, baby killer. And then they were throwing crap at me. Someone threw a beer bottle at me. It's like, I knew better than to expect a ticker tape parade, but I damn sure wasn't ready for that. And the open hostility of people, and what was said, was people my age that were treating me like that. The only time we got any respect, and it was varied, is if we went to like a VFW or American Legion, some of the older vets, gave us respect. Even some of them, Vietnam, that's not a war. We're real warriors. You're not. My brother, who was a Marine in Vietnam, he went to a VFW once. And they told him to go away. Vietnam wasn't a foreign war. And he resented and hated the VFW until the day he died. And I tried to explain to him that was then. This is now. Now the Vietnam veterans are the old timers,
Absolutely.
But he never joined the VFW for that reason.
God. I can't imagine. My dad said the same thing, having bags of dog shit thrown at him and stuff like that at Oakland. He came through Oakland as well. And he said, luckily, the on one side, the Hells Angels were there trying to recruit vets. And then on the other side, there were California Highway Patrol. And he said, if not, the Marines that were coming home with him were about to clean house on the Harry Krishna group and all of that. It just makes me sick. And then also dealing with the VFW, I've heard some tales about that, and that's just disgusting. Go ahead. Sorry.
So one thing that really pissed me off back at that time period is the guys would yell insults and talk shit to you from across the street or down the block. The women would get in your face because they knew we wouldn't hit them.
Mm-hmm.
Although I'll admit it was tempting.
You don't have to tell me. I've been in a situation or two where it's like, I've come that close. I don't hit women, but you are begging to be the first.
Yeah.
Yeah, or in a passing car. So you sure as heck can't run fast as a car to get them. And there's some photos of when you were leaving Vietnam that we'll bring up later during the questions that I think folks will get a good laugh out of, or enjoy, I should say. So when you got back home and you're finished, do you immediately get out of the Army? Do you stick around for a while? What's your plans?
When I got out of Vietnam, I got out of the Army. Like I say, I enlisted to fly helicopters, but when that went south, I had to serve the balance of a 2-year enlistment. So it was, kind of like being drafted, time-wise, because I got out of the Army when I processed from Oakland. They processed me out of the Army at that time.
Wow.
And I was told to check in with a reserve unit, which to this day, I never did. I just moved to Tennessee and didn't tell anybody anything about it, and never heard anything since. And
no issues there.
No. It was funny though, because I was out for 6 years, and I spent that time, moving around the country, bouncing from one minimum wage job to another. I had PTSD, but that was before they knew what it was. Also, when I was in Vietnam, like a lot of people, when I went to Vietnam, I was squeaky clean. I didn't drink, didn't smoke, didn't do anything. I was a Boy Scout. Hell, I was an Eagle Scout. And by the time I left Vietnam, I'm drinking, I'm smoking weed. And when I got back, I just continued with that behavior, and eventually became an alcoholic and addict. But I was just moving around. I couldn't settle down, and in the process, I met a beautiful young lady. We got married, and I had an instant family. And now I'm trying to find something with some career potential, because I was barely a high school graduate. I didn't have any, formal education to speak of, no job skills. And I'm trying to find something with some career potential and couldn't. And we ended up in a place called Fiddletown, California. And I'm at the point of rounding up Coke bottles and selling it for gas money. And I had a cousin who went, he was prior Navy, and he went back in the Navy, and that kind of put a bug in my ear. So I went and talked to the Navy recruiter, and they made what I thought was a pretty good deal. And so I decided to join the Navy. And it wasn't meant to be a career. I wanted to join the Navy to just, get some health insurance for the family, get some kind of stability until I could, get on my feet. And in the Navy, I got into something I really enjoyed, which was being a sensor operator on P3 aircraft.
Wow.
And I spent 17 years flying all over the world in land-based P3s, hunting and tracking Soviet submarines, and absolutely loved it.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is, and I think there's a photo of you and a bird. I'm not sure if you're tracking here or.
Yeah, that was my first flight as a fleet AW. It's Acoustic Sensor Operator. And that's the sensor station behind me. There were 2 stations. And what would happen, we'd go out, we'd fly over an area where they suspected submarine activity. We'd drop sonobuoys. They're cylinders about 3 foot long, about 4 or 5 inches in diameter. And they would go in the water and they would deploy a hydrophone, a microphone underwater. And they would transmit the sounds from the ocean up to the P3, and it would go through, demultiplexer, spectrum analyzer, all this other equipment, and the sound would be displayed in a visual pattern on papergrams. And by analyzing the pattern, I could tell if there was a submarine out there. I could tell you what type.
Holy cow!
Yeah, it was amazing. The information that we could get off of the sound.
So at this time, were y'all? I think you said all over the world. Is it literally all over the United States? Or are y'all getting close to Russia, Europe?
Oh no, my base was Moffett Field, California at the time. It's about 45 miles south of San Francisco. And I was in P3 squadrons. Now, the West Coast squadrons usually deployed to Westpac, Western Pacific. Mm-hmm. And our deployment sites were places like Adak, Alaska, which is out in the Aleutians, Midway, Guam, Massawa, Philippines, that whole area. And we did, patrols in that area. Kanino, Kanawa, we patrolled, the Tsushima Straits. Adak, we flew off the coast of the Soviet Union numerous times. And one time, is in 1985, they took a West Coast squadron, VP-40 with the squadron I was in, and they sent us to Keflavik, Iceland. And they took an East Coast squadron and sent them to Massawa, Japan. So I got to do some ASW out of Iceland.
That is wild. I mean, yeah, that's literally everywhere. I bet you, I bet you've got some great visuals in your head, or if you took pictures of some amazing sights that you saw flying all over the place like that.
Yeah, that was my crew out of Keflavik. I'm the one on the far right holding the cup of coffee.
Wow. And with these birds, how long are you guys airborne? Are y'all doing aerial refueling or?
No, the P3 didn't have aerial refueling, thankfully. Typically, our missions were 12 to 15 hours.
That's a long. I mean, I complain about flights across the U.S. I don't like flying anyways, but geez Louise, 12 to 15 hours. When you're, excuse me, guys. When y'all are flying these types of missions, are there? And I can imagine in the 80s things are quite hot. Wasn't alive then, not born until 90. Were y'all having any dangers y'all need to look out for? Ships with missiles searching for y'all, other airplanes?
We had most of the time it was peaceful. Flying out of Adak, going off the Soviet coast, we would encounter Soviet trawlers, and sometimes they would be hostile. Other times they wouldn't. We had one case where we flew over a Soviet trawler, and we could tell from our infrared that it was disguised to look like a fishing boat. But we could tell that it was intelligence gathering. So what we did is we took one of our sonobuoy containers, cylinder, and we took a couple of Playboy magazines, some canned soda, candy bars, potato chips, stuff like that, and threw into it, taped it up, flew ahead of the trawler and dropped it. And then we circled back around. Well, they picked it up and opened it up, and we flew back around, and these guys were going nuts. They're out on the deck, and they're waving, giving us a thumbs up, and we did a wing wag for them. They didn't want to be out there any more than we did.
Oh.
That's a good moment. And then a lot of times we would get intercepted by Soviet aircraft, and most of the time it was friendly. They would come out, and they would fly by us, and we'd wave at each other. It was all friendly. We had one case. There was a Korean airliner that was shot down by the Soviets, Cal 007. We were that unidentified military aircraft that was out there when that happened, and we were flying what's called a PAR-PRO mission. And for those missions, we fly to 50 miles off the Soviet coast, fly up and down the coast. Now we have our radar; everything is emitting. We want them to see us and know that we're there. And then we got a word from the Air Force. Air Force controlled us, and they told us to abort the mission. And we're thinking, hey, great, we get to go home and drink beer early. And on the way back, I went back to the aft observation station, and having a cigarette, and I look out the window and I see a 747 flying over the top of us. And I called it to the flight station. They identified it, and they said, yeah, it's a Korean airliner. And when we landed, we found out that it had been shot down. And so 2 days later, we're flying that exact same mission. Now, in the meantime, tensions are high. The most of our squadron was out of Misawa, Japan. We were a detachment in ADAC, and they're flying SAR missions looking for debris survivors and whatnot. And we're flying that same mission. Well, this time we get intercepted by Soviet fighters, and they're not friendly. They're very hostile. They're flying at us aggressively. They're coming at us head on, then breaking away at the last minute. And when they broke away, we saw that they were fully loaded. They were maxed out with air-to-air missiles. And they came around, and one got above our right wing and the other below our left wing. And they're trying to get us to bank and fly into their airspace. And our navigator was on the radio, calling out Mayday. U.S. Navy aircraft in international airspace were being harassed. And then the aircraft broke station and got behind us. And one of them had locked onto us with fire control radar. Our sensors could hear that Rassiter. And normally they don't do that unless they're firing a missile. And I've never been more terrified in my life because I was absolutely helpless. There wasn't anything I could do for my survival. The only thing I could do is pray they don't shoot. Well, obviously they didn't. But they locked onto us.
That plane doesn't have any like chafe or anything.
No, the P3, it's converted Lockheed Electra passenger aircraft. It's a large 4-engine turboprop. And we were pretty helpless. And the fighters broke station, and now we're heading back, thankfully. Well, we lost an engine. That's no big deal because P3s have 4 engines. We typically will shut down an engine to conserve fuel. So losing an engine, no big deal. Then after that, we lost our de-icing. Now that's pretty serious. So we had to descend to a lower altitude, and we're flying through thicker air. We're burning more fuel, and there's a major storm right on our butt. And by the time we got to ADAC, ADAC's a little island out in the Aleutians. We had enough fuel to make one approach. And our pilot called us, said, set condition 5, because that was for takeoff and landing, and also for ditching. He says, set it good, because if we don't land, we're going in the water. And we landed safely. The pilot was good. And I was the first one off the plane. And when I went down, I went, just sprawled on the pavement. And I literally kissed the ground,
Oh, I don't blame you for that. Holy cow.
Yeah. I had nightmares of that. That was back in 1983. And I had nightmares of that for a long time. I almost unvolunteered for flight duty because going on the next mission, I went out and I'm standing at the bottom of the ladder looking up at the door on the P3. And it's like, what the heck, and I'm glad I did.
Got to get back on that horse, I suppose.
Yeah. But that was the only incident that I thought was that bad. Now we lost engines in flight. We've had in flight fires, things like that. And P3 is a good aircraft, good solid aircraft, and always brought us home safe. And that was the one time where I was really, really scared.
Would you say, and it's probably going to sound like it is, but would you say that was the the hairiest moment you had in the air while you were doing these missions?
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah, I thought so. Hearing that,
Yeah.
that's terrifying. And when y'all actually know they've locked on, I can't imagine the feeling that y'all must have got when y'all found out that they had locked on. It sounds like they were trying to push y'all in there to where they'd have the absolute green light to shoot y'all down.
Yeah, they definitely wanted us to fly into their airspace so they could legally shoot us down. And I'm glad we got out of that one. That was the scariest. That was the scariest I think I've ever been in my life, and that includes Vietnam.
Holy cow.
Because in Vietnam, when the shit hit the fan, there was always something I could do for my survival.
Mm-hmm.
I could seek cover, I could hide, I could shoot back, I could run. There was always something I could do to increase my chances of survival. On the P3, there was absolutely nothing. And I've never felt so helpless in my life.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of planes for that very reason. There's literally nothing you can do. Sit there and just strap in and grin and bear it.
Yeah.
So how long did you keep up this specific mission, and did you keep this mission up until you retired, or did you go into another mission set?
Well, I was a sensor operator my entire time in the Navy. I was on sea duty at that time, and after that, I went on shore duty, which was my last tour as an instructor in our training squadron. And it was during that time, I was Chief Petty Officer E7 at the time. I realized that I had a very serious drinking problem. Like I said, when I got out of Vietnam, I was doing illegal drugs. Before I joined the Navy, I quit the illegal drugs and, became a hardcore alcoholic. Kind of like changing seats on the Titanic. But while I was in the Navy, I realized I'm drinking a quart of vodka a day.
Oh, man.
And that wasn't to get drunk and party. That was just to function.
Maintain.
And I knew I couldn't continue with that. So I went and turned myself in to our squadron DAPA. That's Drug and Alcohol Program Advisor. And I went and told him, I said, hey, I think I have a problem. And he laughed. He said, man, I've been waiting on you.
Wow.
So he got me hooked into the AA program. I went through the Navy's level 2 rehab program, which was a 2-week outpatient treatment there at Moffett Field. And they had me scheduled for what they call level 3, which is going down. It's a 2-month program where kind of like basic training. You're living in the barracks, it's 24/7. But they figured since I was doing well and I was on the right track, they held off on the level 3. And I was able to maintain my sobriety through that program. And then I was able to maintain my sobriety for the next 2 years. And after I had 2 years of sobriety, I went through the training myself to become a drug and alcohol program advisor. So I finished my tour in the Navy, helping other guys, get clean and get into sobriety.
Wow.
And I'm happy to say I've been sober ever since.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Not only you getting clean and healthy, but helping other people. I find that to be extremely commendable. Not just getting yourself clean and being done with it, but recognize there's a huge problem out there, and people could probably use help from someone like yourself that they can identify with and really get help from. That's outstanding, sir.
Well, that's still going on today. I joined the Combat Vets Motorcycle Association. And from there, one of our members was a mentor at the Knoxville Veterans Treatment Court.
Wow.
And so he put a bug in my ear, and I went and I volunteered. So I became a mentor. And the Veterans Treatment Court, it's where they take veterans who are in jail for crimes that are substance abuse related. And they're given a chance to go through a recovery program. And if they stick with the program, it starts off very strict. And as they progress, the restrictions are lifted. And the whole idea is to get them into recovery and get them on their feet and, clean, sober, and productive. And as a mentor and also as a Vietnam vet, with experience with PTSD, with addiction, I kind of help guide these guys along.
Wow.
And it's very rewarding, for the guys that make it. It's heartbreaking for the ones that don't. But one of the reasons I do this, part of, it's good to help others, but at the same time, it's helping me be reminded of who and what I am. I'm happy to say I can't remember the last time I craved a drink. I don't have the cravings anymore. I don't even have the desire, but I'm still an alcoholic. And a mistake that a lot of people make with drugs and alcohol is they don't have the cravings, so they think they're cured. And okay, now it's okay to start drinking again. No, it's not. It's never okay.
No.
And I had an experience with cigarettes. I was a heavy smoker too. And I'd managed to quit smoking for a year. And I'm in a bar with a buddy of mine, and he had a pack of Marlboros there. And I go, "Yo, Mikey, can I have one of your smokes?" And he goes, "I thought you quit." And he goes, "Hey, it's been a year. This is for old time's sake." And when I took that first puff, I was hooked again. I ended up smoking half of his pack that night. He got on to me. So I bought him a pack, and I bought myself a pack. And the whole time I'm telling myself, yeah, I screwed up tonight, but tomorrow I'm going to quit smoking again. Well, tomorrow turned out to be 7 years later. 2 years after I quit drinking.
Been there. I've had that same exact talk with myself about smoking cigarettes and cigars and getting off of it. It always tomorrow. And like you said, 5 years later, 7 years later, it's tomorrow finally. Gosh, I mean, that's would you say, I mean, I know it's kind of hard to choose with you being on the ground doing the reconnaissance missions, you doing reconnaissance missions in the air, but I mean, getting yourself clean, helping other veterans, could you choose what you think would be your most rewarding venture in life has been? Would it be helping other veterans and addicts get clean?
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, the other is important, but this is something it's on a very personal level. And, it's like, when you're out, flying patrol, you're a deterrent. You're helping hopefully to prevent a major war, peace through strength, that sort of thing. But when you're helping people with recovery, that's very personal. That's somebody you get to look in the eye, talk to them. That's somebody that you can sit and cry with or have joy with. It's a very rewarding to see guys that are really struggling at one time, and then a couple months later they're back with their families. They have a productive job. Their lives are back on track, and nothing's better than that.
Wow, that's that is a beautiful thing when someone finally sees the light and you've been there to help them all along. That's beautiful. So did how long was your Navy career?
Navy career was 18 years.
Wow.
So I had 2 years Army, 18 years Navy. So between the two, I had my 20 years, and I was able to retire out of the Navy as a Chief Petty Officer E7.
Wow. That is fantastic. 20 years, two
Yeah.
services. That is just amazing. Not many people can say that. I'm always just shocked and just absolutely amazed at the guys that do the inter service branches and continue on. Always intriguing to me. That's just fantastic. Let's see here. What as we're about to get ready for the questions and closing out, you mentioned you're still working with veterans. Are you doing anything? Do you have a foundation of your own? Are you still working with the Navy or the military and that organization, or?
No, I'm working with the Veterans Treatment Court in Knoxville.
Okay.
And I go into court every Thursday, into the courtroom, with the guys, and we have meetings outside of that with the guys, vet to vet meetings, and it's just being there for them. Plus, I tell every guy, they have my phone number, and I tell them that's a 24-hour hotline, and I always make sure when I go to bed at night that the phone is, by my pillow. That if somebody calls me at 3 a.m., I'll be able to answer.
Jeez Louise, what a guy. I mean, that's the only way people are going to get well this day and age, is to have someone in it like this. I can't commend you enough for that. Jeez, that is just outstanding. Let's see here. So I'll need to get the website and some information where I can start. I can put that in our show notes where people, if anybody needs to reach out or get help, they can.
Yeah.
Okay. I believe we are gonna cover some questions here, and we'll be ready to wrap up because we are about to hit our hour mark here.
Okay.
I was very interested when I found some photos on one of the LRRP sites, and then I managed to find the full set on your Facebook page of when you guys were leaving Vietnam, and it looks like somebody's got a pith helmet on with with an antler of some sort. I was very curious what this ceremony was.
Okay. There was a group of us. There was like 7 of us that were all leaving within a week, and I was the first of that group that was leaving. So I was next. So I became the next king, and I put together this goofy outfit. It was an NVA pith helmet with a set of antlers, and between the antlers was the sign "Next," and a black and gold Vietnamese smoking jacket, and a walking cane that became the royal staff. So the night before I left the company, we had a change of command ceremony where I anointed the next king, Rex McElroy, and there I'm presenting him with the royal staff, and he's getting ready to make his acceptance speech.
That is hilarious. I knew there was going to be a great set. That is perfect. There's the next son right there.
Yeah. I'm in my royal chariot.
I think I've got a pic. Oh, there's the in color one of the chariot right there, the mule with your royal throne.
Yeah.
That is outstanding. And was that a spur of the moment? Y'all just literally thought that up in the moment?
It was a few days. I was up on Nui Ba Dien. They flew me back to Phuc Vinh 2 weeks before I was to go home, which I was very grateful for. And it's because spending so much time up on Nui Ba Dien, I didn't know a lot of the guys that were in the company. Mm-hmm. And a lot of them, they didn't know me. They thought I was a new guy, and they asked when I checked in, and I told them, and they go, "Well, who are you?" And Talon X-ray. And when I said Talon X-ray, that was my call sign. "Oh, you're Talon X-ray. Oh, okay." And then I had this idea of, I'm next, and I'm happy about it, and I'm going to celebrate.
I gotta say that is a really cool smoking jacket,
Yeah,
and especially seeing it in color. That
yeah.
thing is very nice.
I don't even
Where
know
did
how
y'all
I
get?
came by it. It's just
I
stuff
was fixing to say, where the heck did you find that thing?
it was laying in the barracks, and I got it, and then the pith helmet, and
Love the pith helmets.
yeah, but it's something I just kind of threw it together, and everybody in the company got on board with it, and you know uh, was making. I'd walk through the barracks in the evening, and they go, "Oh, the Imperial short timer," and "Oh, bless me, so I may be short someday," and you know.
This is, I mean, I'm gonna have to. This is great. I'll end up making a little video of this and sharing it because this is one of the better stories I've ever heard in my life. To be honest with you, that is just fantastic. Um, Most of the guys always like me to ask two things. One, while you were with the LRRP and the Rangers, what was your weapon of choice? Were CAR-15s around, or were you still using the M16s?
Well, we had car 15s. I think I have one photo of me holding a car 15. I liked it. I liked the M16. Uh, we had the improved versions because the first versions they had reliability problems. Yeah, that's a car 15 that I'm holding there. But by the time I got there, um, they had improved. They fixed the M16s. They were reliable, and liked it because unlike the M14, which I had in basic training, um, it was a lot lighter, and you
Yeah.
could carry a lot more ammo.
Boy, that talking to the Force Recon guys that continued to carry that over the M16, I was like, I can't believe y'all were humping those on recon missions, but they sure as heck did. They loved them, and they weren't going to trade them until they finally took them away from them.
Yeah.
um, and camouflage, were tiger stripes the big deal? The ERDL, or were y'all just OD? Or
Well, we had what they call the flower. It wasn't tiger stripe. It was camouflage. That was a more conventional um, camouflage design. Um, it depended a lot on what area you were going into. If it was a triple canopy jungle, you'd wear the tiger stripes. In most cases, you wore what they call the flowers.
wow,
But,
very
but
interesting.
yeah, we had our bodies, our weapons camouflage. We wore flop hats. Well, no one ever took a steel helmet, steel pod in the bush. Um,
Seeing a ranger with a helmet would be quite strange.
yeah.
Um, did y'all ever do the and I've seen some, but not everybody seemed to have done that. Did y'all end up doing the Rambo SOG cravat around the head, or did you guys just like the floppy boonies to keep the rain and all that off y'all's heads?
All we wore the floppies, the floppy hats.
Yeah, I think the floppies covering your head, bugs, rain, water. The Rambo wrap looks cool, but I think I'd have to have a boonie hat on a mission. Just me not liking bugs and all that and stuff touching my head. I think a spider was on me every 30 seconds. Um, Let me see. Questions, guys. We've got a lot coming in. Jennifer wanted me to ask you something about the Korean airline. Ask him about the SRA McGill 343 SPS guarded RC-135 variant that landed at Ilsen Air Force Base in 1983 with several MiG inflicted holes on the fuselage. Did you ever
Uh,
hear of that?
Honestly, I'm not familiar with.
Okay.
You
I have no. I'm not an airplane guy, so all of that, as you could tell me reading it, was a foreign
Well,
language.
I know those were very tense times,
Mhm.
and there were encounters, but I don't have the details. I just remember our encounter.
Mm. Gosh, I can't. I mean, the '80s had to have been. We're in weird times now, but with the Cold War like it was, and then the '80s, I can't imagine what it was going on like that back then. Um, Good question there. Someone was asking, what was the average ammo loadout for your times in the LRRP and Rangers?
When we went in the bush, each individual carried, uh, if I recall, it was like 20 magazines for your primary weapon, M16, several hand grenades. Uh, we carried a couple of LAWs, light anti-tank weapons. And at least one person on the team had a M79 grenade launcher sawed off, and we all carried ammo for that. We all carried Claymore mines whenever we would, rest at night. We'd put Claymores out around our position. And yeah, it was a lot of stuff, a lot to carry.
Yeah. Oh, back related issues. I now understand when guys talk about their knees and backs, not to mention all the jumps guys were doing. I'm like, geez, it's a wonder you guys are upright and as good a shape y'all are in with what all y'all are carrying. Looks like I'm coming to our last question, and I don't want to hold you any longer. We're already over an hour here, but did you or any of the guys you were with while you were in go through Recondo school?
Yeah, a lot of the guys went through Recondo. I never did. I got wounded before I had the opportunity. Also, I never got jump qualified.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, when I went into LRRPs, being jump qualified wasn't a requirement.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they converted us to Rangers, it wasn't practical to pull me out, send me through jump school, and then stick me back. So I was an airborne-less Ranger.
I was talking to somebody the other day, and he was not airborne qualified either. And someone, I think Lieutenant Mike Bennett with H Company, he ended up fixing the scroll, and he made sure he changed it to where airborne wasn't quite as prominent, and the Ranger scroll was more prominent. I thought that was interesting because guys weren't all airborne.
On our patch, it was Ranger Airborne. And then later they changed it to Airborne Ranger.
Okay. I think that's what he was talking about in one of those books. Heck, it may have been Mr. Craig's.
Yeah. In fact, on my hat.
There you go, right there. HCO Ranger Airborne 75th Infantry. There we go. Perfecto. And our closing question, Jennifer was also curious, forgive me, what about the SMRIS AGM Soviet ships, the trawlers he mentioned? I'm not sure what she's meaning about what about them.
Well, they were out off the coast. There were numerous Soviet trawlers. They were disguised to look like fishing boats, but we knew they were intelligence gathering, and we would fly over them. And like I say, every now and then they would shoot a flare at us or something like that. Most of the time it was just they wave at us, we wave at them. And I told you about putting the buoy of goodies out in front of them. No, it's just, they didn't want to be out there any more than we did. Same thing with the pilots that intercepted us. Vast majority of the times it was friendly. It's just, see ya, and I have a good day,
Doing my job, and I would like to get back home, please.
Yeah.
All righty. I think we've wrapped up our questions. I'm sure folks will watch and send me some questions, and I'll get to you if you won't mind answering. But is there anything you would like to say before we shut down for the day?
Well, I read Craig's books. They are outstanding. I highly recommend them for anybody that is curious about the Vietnam War, or especially what the LRRP Rangers did. Highly recommend Craig's books. They are outstanding.
Absolutely. Mr. Ray Martinez, Mr. Gary Linder, Ken Miller, and Mr. Craig. Those four men, if you want to learn all about the Rangers, go buy any of their books and you will not be disappointed. Absolutely not. All righty. Well, I greatly appreciate you joining us, Mr. Larry. It's been just wonderful. We've learned a lot. lot of great stories that I'm just shocked and still laughing about. But I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll stay in touch with you. And just let me know if you need me or if you'd like to come back on. You've always got an open platform.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
Yes, sir. Have a good day.
You too. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.